Welcome to episode 235 of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. Tesla has released a long-range rear-wheel drive Model 3 into the Australian market. This class-leading range model replaces the previously available long-range all-wheel drive Model 3, which has been discontinued. After deleting all control stalks with the introduction of the refreshed Highland Model 3, Tesla has partially corrected their mistake by reintroducing a simplified indicator stalk and modified steering wheel controls, which is the same as its refreshed Juniper Model Ys. And that was this week's news. Indeed it was, and once again welcome to the program. And yes, I do know that there was some other news such as uh, full self-driving in the American version 14, which is just starting to come out to some early adopters, and also the
Standard.
technically more affordable versions of the Model 3 and the Model Y, which were quite underwhelming, although actually not unsurprisingly so. So I just didn't bother putting them in the news. The thing too is we really don't know what the pricing is going to be in Australia, which is what really counts. If we go by American standards, it's probably going to be 10 to 13% cheaper. So we'll just have to see how that goes. Alrighty, as is customary, if there is anyone who is, excuse me, who is new and is comfortable in doing so, please unmute and say hello. Or perhaps a little bit later. Now, I also know that anyone watching on YouTube or on X usually watches the first part, and if you're clever, you'll watch the last bit because sometimes there's some juicy tidbits at the end. But I'm going to New Zealand for a month, and unfortunately, as good as it is to join the conversation from the future, 5 hours in the future makes it very, very late. So we're going to have a recording break of Ask Us Anything. So for anyone watching on YouTube or X, there'll be a 4 week break. But obviously, we'll still run these sessions anyway. And whether it's Pete punishing himself by being on or anyone else, you're more than welcome to join us for the next 4 Wednesdays after tonight's session. Alrighty, who wants to start off with a question or a comment?
I nominate Pete for Emperor.
For Emperor, wow! What did Pete do to become the Emperor? Seriously?
Well, you were going on holiday.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well, that's in the deep. That's it. That's another 7 days from now. But yeah, obviously there was the release of the announcement. Sorry, the announcement was exciting. The actual release to many who I think it was more a case of people wanted the car to be, I don't know, 25% cheaper by magic. But of course, anyone who understands any kind of manufacturing whatsoever understands that what you pay retail for something is a vast departure of what the raw material costs are, and even the transform costs. So I think Elon Musk said several earnings calls ago that even just to get a few percent value or cost out of a car is decidedly difficult. And so there are, like I said, many analysts, no doubt, and other people, some retail shareholders and retail YouTubers would be quite disappointed that somehow Tesla didn't conjure up a 30,000 US dollar car or even $35,000 car. But the fact of the matter is, as ARK Invest showed, when you plot the price of a vehicle compared to its total addressable market as a percentage or a percentile, even reducing the cost by 10% can actually double your total addressable market. So Tesla certainly has done that, and that is a great achievement. It might not be to everyone's taste. For example, there were some comments around, oh, well, why would you put a glass roof in and then put a a liner, a felt or whatever liner on the roof. Now the fact is, it's a lot cheaper to produce a basic laminated glass roof than Tesla's highly advanced infrared blocking coatings and substrates that are really quite expensive. So Tesla sort of picked the lowest hanging fruit, which was, yeah, we'll just keep the glass roof because we already have that tooling, but we'll use very simplified laminated glass so you maintain the structural integrity of the vehicle because glass actually adds a lot of structural integrity, believe it or not, just before it breaks. And then for air conditioning and other reasons, we'll just put an inexpensive liner and we'll just stick that to the glass. And there were some other deductions. I think they deducted the rear screens, which we are now accustomed to on what you call the premium versions of the 3 and the Y. And there's a few other things that, as we saw on the Model Y, the lighting the headlights are now and daytime running lights are now simpler and less expensive, as to are the brake lights and the tail lights, or mainly the tail light really. So yeah, I think I saw some Yahoo Finance article that said, oh, actually it was an Australian one that said, oh, Tesla's now implementing shrinkflation because that's now the buzzword of the month. But really, it's not shrinkflation because the price has actually come down as opposed to what shrinkflation really is. But anyway, the haters are going to hate. I think the fanboys are going to wish for something more. And I think most sensible analysts and shareholders will say, well, really this is playing at the margins. The real gains are to be made with robotaxi, or should I say robo taxis, including the Cybercab, and obviously Optimus, which will come a few years down the road. So anyway, has anyone got any questions about maybe Tesla, or even your Tesla? If you want to do a road trip, or you've just bought your car. By the way, there's still no sign of the two. Well, I don't know how many people purchased or transferred FSD to their new Model Ys that they received at the end of last quarter, but there is still no news or progress as to any software update or when that might come. And in fact, anyone that's got FSD has not yet received a software update. So please don't expect version 14, as good as it seems in America. There's no sign of that coming to Australia anytime soon, being the next few weeks or whatever. All right. Anyone got a hand up or whatever to have a question or a comment?
I'll do a comment.
Yes,
That
Richard.
the headliner in the new Model Y, the standard Model Y, they're saying because it's got a headliner, they've taken out the rear acoustic glass because they don't need it, which I thought was an interesting comment. The other thing,
Yes.
as soon as I got my other Model Y and this Model Y, I put in an electric sunroof because they're too bloody hot in summer. Don't tell me they're not.
Yep.
And most of the, certainly 6 months of the year, I have it closed. So if I got one of those, I'd be happy not have the sunroof. So wouldn't worry
Look,
me.
it's funny, Richard. I totally agree. For a few laps I've had on my old Model Y, let's call it the classic Model Y, which is no longer with us or no longer with me. I did a improvised roof cover thing, which was I went to Bunnings and bought some. It's about I don't know 5 millimeters thick, perhaps. It's like bubble wrap with foil either side. But
Yep.
I think no, it wasn't bubble wrap. I think it was actually foam. So it's got like a fairly tight foam with bubble wrap with aluminium
Yep.
foil either side, and improvised sort of cut it and then tucked it into the roof so that the whole thing was lined.
Brilliant.
And yeah, to be honest, in my own personal opinion, I think I might be echoing yours, Richard. In my opinion, the glass roof, yeah, it looks great. The number of times you actually, as a well, if you're a single occupant owner, so you mainly drive yourself around, or even dare I say, just a front passenger, you never ever really look at the through the glass roof. You're looking through the windscreen, so you don't really care what the view is. And it's absolutely true that particularly when it's summer and you're driving through the airstream, that glass will be at the ambient air temperature once you're flowing through the, doing highway speeds. And that
No
could be
problem.
43, 44, 45 degrees. So you're getting 45 degrees of infrared, natural infrared from the glass itself, beaming onto your head.
To make
Um,
that 75 when it's been parked for an hour.
Too right, and that's exactly what happens. So regardless of all these infrared coatings, and it's actually quite true that the infrared coating on the, let's call it the Juniper Model Y, the new Model Y, is remarkable. Like it is so good. You really do not feel any infrared from the sun, the direct sun itself, but you feel that the heat from the glass being whatever temperature it is.
That's just
So
physics. Physics.
it's
You can't
just
get
it's
away.
just physics. That's right. And when the car is parked, it will absolutely get red hot. And then as you take off and start driving, perhaps within the next 5 or 10 minutes, it will return to the air temperature. But still, that's not cool, as in temperature wise. So yeah, I know a lot of people put their own liners or buy liners and just block out. So you're right. I don't think there's many people that'd be upset that if you were to buy a car for 10% less and have a physical liner on a glass roof, that is not a negative as far as I'm concerned, for sure.
Well,
However, deleting autopilot, that's
Oh
a
yeah.
biggie. So that was, I thought that was quite controversial personally
Mm.
because it's a real safety factor. And that's
Mm.
kind of works contrary to what Tesla's DNA is. But I guess the thing is, if you're not using autopilot, there still are active driver assist systems helping you out, such as automatic emergency braking. And there might be a little bit of emergency lane departure. I haven't seen that minutiae of detail. But yeah, certainly the headliner, yeah, don't care. That's actually a bonus for sure.
Harold, do we know if the new standard models will have FSD supervised come to them?
Yes, you can. You can buy it. Yes. So
So,
in
so
fact,
autopilot-
the standard one in America only has TAC, and the only thing you can purchase is FSD. I think that's right. For
Yep.
$7,500, if I recall correctly. So there
It's
is
got
no
I think
option.
let me double check.
But
But
the hardware's the same.
Oh, the hardware. Oh, sorry. Yes. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So the computers, the AI4 computer is absolutely the same. That's not nobbled in any way. Unlike, for example, I think the battery packs, they have taken perhaps one or two parallel strings of battery cells out. So for those who like the technicalities, the battery voltage is unchanged, which is a good thing because that means the charging is much less compromised. In fact, it's not compromised at all. Whereas if you lowered the voltage, so if you took the battery packs are made up of cells in parallel, which beefs up the capacity, and in series, which also beefs up the capacity but adds to the voltage. And the higher the voltage, the harder you can charge them without having to worry about things like the current going through the connector and all that sort of stuff. So Tesla has taken, I think it might have been one string of parallel cells out, which I think it was Kyle Connor from Outer Spec Reviews basically said, well, the good thing about that is the battery voltage is the same. So it's still the 400 volt odd class battery pack.
so,
But
so
that's
yeah, you're right. You can buy FSD supervised for $8,000.
8,000, but not
And
autopilot.
it's the only option. Yeah. So in which case it doesn't really matter whether you have autopilot or not. You either buy it or you pay the $150 a month
Or you don't. Yes.
Or drive the car yourself. Yeah.
And look, to be honest, I am personally disappointed and frustrated at the number of people I see in Perth driving Teslas who are clearly manually driving. And I, I think it's a communication issue. I think there's probably not enough effort. Maybe actually Tesla should realise. I just don't know that I don't think enough people are aware that autopilot is a thing and it's important or it's useful. So, like I said, I see nearly every day someone clearly physically manually driving the car, and that's a real shame. So I think those that there are a lot of people a big proportion of people that don't care that there's no autopilot in this, whatever you want to call it, the more affordable car, the more affordable vehicle.
I had a very interesting experience early on. I went to a Tesla meeting down at the Campfield and was talking to this this is early on. And I said, "Oh, what do you think of autopilot?" And he said, "Oh, no, I haven't tried it. I will never use it. I just won't trust it. I will never use it." And I said, "Why did you buy a Tesla? I mean, that's crazy."
Mm.
So I've got an oven. I'm not turning it on. The house might catch on fire. So what'd you buy an oven for?
Yeah, true.
So, I think I'd like to disagree with you a bit, guys, being a newer idiot on the block. What I would say to you is that autopilot works very well on the freeway, and it is excellent. But my number of journeys on the freeway is, a couple of times a month if I go to the hospital or something. The rest of the time, I wouldn't use it, for example, going from, say, Karen up to Morley along Morley Drive. I mean, I've put tack on a couple of times, and that works reasonably well, but not actually as well as my old-fashioned car normal cruise control that just sticks on the speed. I do like the lane keeping. So if you came to me and said, "Pay me $5,000 for autopilot a couple of times a month on the freeway," I'd probably go no. I mean, in my case, it came with the vehicle because it was Tesla approved and they added it on as part of the package. So I think if that's what you mean by not seeing people with autopilot on, Harold.
No, this is actually most of the time it's on the freeway. It's actually that's when I get to really look at people. And
yeah, sure. Yeah.
The number of people on the freeway, it's like, yes. Wow, I can't believe it. And it's just, apart from obviously seeing their hands on the steering wheel, both hands, which is a dead tell, you can also tell immediately because they're not dead center in the lane. It's just so easy to tell, and their speed's all over the place.
I totally agree with you then about that. But for me personally, and for a lot of people, they're going $5,000 versus how often do I go on the freeway? If you're, let's say, you live in Joondalup and you're working in Kwinana, you'd have it every day of the week. But if you're just somebody who motors around or taking the kids to school or something, then $5,000 hit's probably not worth it.
Bearing in mind, actually,
what we were talking about was normal autopilot, not
advanced
autopilot, which is standard with the car.
I was just about to say that. So all the cars in Australia, from Model 3s onwards, so from Model 3, Model Y,
sorry guys,
every single one of those cars had autopilot as standard for free. Didn't have to pay $1. The old.
I always miss. TAC has lane keeping, doesn't it?
No,
that's different again.
Traffic aware cruise control. So that's just, let's call it. Well, I won't call it radar. You could think of it as radar controlled
cruise control.
Cruise control. Harking back to when it used to require a radar to do that, so it would obviously it's traffic aware. So if the traffic slows down, the cruise control slows down. Whereas in the olden days, it used to be a fixed throttle. Well, it used to be a fixed speed, and it would happily careen into the back of someone that was going slower. So all Teslas from the Model 3 and newer, all those models had autopilot absolutely included in the original price permanently. Autopilot does lane keeping. And that's the thing that, if you've got curved lines going across multiple lanes, it'll get confused and do interesting things.
Mike, you're probably talking about enhanced autopilot you've
Yeah.
got with your
Yes.
car
Yeah,
complement.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, and this
Yeah.
is it. This is what confuses me. There's actually sort of four levels, if you like. There's a car with TAC and autopilot. You'd think I'd know by now, a year into owning one, would you? Sorry,
Probably,
guys.
yes. We would have thought you'd
And
know by
then
now.
in my case, I've got TAC and EAP, which is actually the
Oh,
next
yeah.
level again.
Yeah. Yeah, and in fact, the good thing is Tesla has now abandoned the sales of enhanced autopilot to anyone
Yeah,
that hasn't already got it.
yeah,
Because to be honest, it's probably more a confusing. I guess it had its place, but really it had its place for people that wanted just a little bit extra before FSD, because FSD, anyone who's bought FSD up until a few weeks ago who's got a hardware 4 car, it wasn't FSD. It was just a smarter version of autopilot. In fact, that's all it really was. And sadly, for those people who have hardware 3 cars, it still is, frustratingly so. So perhaps it had its place as a bridging sort of thing between what you got for free and what you could buy. And the hook there was automatic lane changing. No, semi-automatic lane changing and automatic lane depart or freeway departure. If you were navigating, they called it navigating autopilot. So it would take exit lanes on the freeway and a couple of certain highways of a certain class. But yeah, it just muddied the waters. It was like a bridging thing. They got either $5,100 out of you, I think, or
Yes.
10,100 on the promise that you'd eventually get the actual full self-driving, full stop. But at the moment, we've now in this other way where it's supervised. So it's not yet, you can't be catatonic on the back seat, and you still are legally responsible. Oh, speaking
I
of
think.
which,
Can I just
sorry,
comment?
just one moment.
Yeah, yeah.
One great thing a great observation that was made, it's probably correct, was a great thing with version 14 in the States is it's approaching more like level 3 automation, which is because people had noticed that when the traffic got a bit busier or the situation got a bit more complex, the car actually said heightened driver awareness or something like that in place. So because level 2 is you're always in control even though the car's doing its own thing. Level 3 is there are times when the car can be fully in control, but that at very short notice, it can warn you to say that you may need to take over it, very soon. And that's kind of what version 14 is showing. So for those who love numbers, we're progressing from level 2 to level 3. And then there's a level 4 and a level 5. Level 4 and 5 are very similar. Level 5 technically alleges that the car can drive by itself everywhere, anywhere, all the time, under all conditions. Level 4 is sort of like anywhere, everywhere, almost all of the time, under almost all conditions, except for ones where it can't. And level 3 is generally fairly well by itself, but you can't be catatonic. You need to be available to give it a hand if it needs it at fairly short notice.
I think the other thing with 14 I saw was that if you've got a hardware 4 car, it'll now park properly because mine are hardware 3 with EAP. The other thing that I like with it is it's self-parking. Although I can actually do it faster and better, I do actually use it a lot because it can.
Yeah,
But hardware
yeah.
4 guys who've not bought FSD can't do that yet, I don't think.
Nor can even.
You guys can do it with your
Yeah, you
FSD,
can.
can't you?
It's not automatic. You've got to.
No, you've got to
I
tell
mean,
it that you want that spot, and then
that's
off you
right.
go.
I mean,
Yeah.
on the second, no, on the first day that I got FSD as this early what's the name access thingy, um, the car I went to drop my wife off on Friday lunchtime, and it actually I said the address, and it just so happened there was a parallel parking spot sort of there, except it was exceedingly short. Like it was too small for my car to fit. But I gave it a good crack at trying, which was, that was fantastic. So it can sort of, and at the end of my lap, for example, it actually parked spontaneously in the correct spot. There's a parallel bay, or it was a long, very long bay. So I didn't do it in a parallel way. It just sort of went to the left and, sort of stopped. But yeah, you can, when you've come to a stop, select parking spots. And yeah, I haven't really given it enough rope to try it too many times. Has anyone tried it much? Is it any better than what we had
I've-
before?
I've
Yeah,
tried it
definitely is
once,
better.
it's basically the same.
Oh, so we've got better and the same. Okay.
No, it's got. I had the old hardware free before, and I got enhanced autopilot just for the parking, and it's okay. But the hardware 4's a lot better, a lot quicker.
Yeah, but Terry, have you got it as FSD?
Yeah, I got FSD.
Oh, right, cool. Okay. So, one thing I've noticed is when it does a reverse park, so you park beyond the bay and you tell it to pick one to the right of you, the driver's side and behind you, I find it sort of does a 3-point turn when I can just do a single sweep. So, have you seen, Terry, that it does that quite well? Or does
Yeah,
it still
it
give
does
it two
quite well.
goes?
As long as it'll find a spot. If you stop too short of that bay, it'll go forward to gauge
yeah.
itself. Yeah.
Yep. And so go forwards a bit, and then it will go backwards and sweep in one curve.
Yeah, it depends
Or
on what's
two?
around you, I found. But if there's nothing around, it goes shoom, straight in.
Right.
Yeah, it's
And
pretty,
Pete,
pretty awesome.
Pete, you've
I-
found it to
I've
be.
got a quick- I've got a quick question, but I find from my FSD that when it takes off from the lights, it takes quite a while. It's pretty slow getting up to the
Speed limit?
speed that I'd like to be at. I have to
Yes.
press my foot. I don't know if I've.
Yep. It's a very
that
known.
common?
It's very much a known trait
Okay.
that FSD at the moment in Australia, and bearing in mind we've all got the same original version, so where there's been no revision whatsoever. So no one in Australia that we're aware of has gotten an update. So, and FSD does not get better the more you drive it on that same version. So it's a very known trait that it does not really maintain the speed limit most of the time. But it's perfectly acceptable to give it a helping hand with the accelerator.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm doing at the moment. So.
Yep. Yep.
I love it, but every time I go in, FSD. It's
My
awesome.
only gripe is it'd be great if you could quickly on the map with your finger drop down a few waypoints that really are there just to say, I don't want to go the way the navigation says, I want to just go my way. Because one of the pain points is, and I know this is a first world problem, and I'm apologising to everyone who's got hardware 3 that really wants FSD, but the main issue of FSD is you really do have to have a navigation point to go to, because if you just start with nothing, the car will generally go straight, except if there's a roundabout, it'll usually go left unless it doesn't. And if there's a straight piece of road, it'll usually go straight unless it turns left or right at the next crossroad. And if you don't put a destination, you may end up going round and round in circles. And you think, oh, I can't be bothered putting a destination. I just want to go where I know where to go. And it'd be great to be able to just get your finger and go, tap, tap, tap. I want to go this way point, this way point, this way point, because I want to do it my way, not the navigation way.
Well, I did notice that it's learning a little bit that at times I have changed its route, where it wants to turn, and I've put the flicker on to turn somewhere else at the right time, and it'll change to that.
Oh, yeah, so that's actually that was from our pro tip thing a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, the masterclass. You can actually steer FSD. I won't say always because it doesn't always work.
No, it doesn't
But
always
you can sort of steer it with the indicator, and then depending on where you are, it can totally change. if it was going to go right and you tell it to go left, that can, just by doing that, will completely change the navigation planning to go an alternate route. So, for example, if you're in Aussie Park somewhere, if you go right, it'll go Scarborough Beach Road. If you go left, it'll go the freeway.
Yeah.
So you can sort of semi-control it.
I
Often.
thought to me, it appears that it's learning.
No.
You
So we've
reckon
got
it's
to.
not learning?
No,
thought
as
it was
humans,
learning.
we've got to resist the urge to personify what the car's doing, and it's hard to do because the car FSD is actually working in a very human-like way. It's uncannily human-like, but we've got to resist the urge to go, oh, it must be learning, because I mean, Pete and I discussed this last week, and I've gone over the same partial speed hump. Oh, I don't know, 20 times since. And actually, in the last week, it has not done it straddled perfectly once. Whereas the week before, it did it perfectly about a third of the time. So, no, you've got to resist the urge to think it's learning. It's really not. The system itself, the entire Tesla is learning, because the more you drive the cars, the more data it'll collect through exception. So when you disconnect because you've had to put the brake on because it was going to go through a red light or go across the wrong side of the road or do something else that you didn't want it to do, then that feedback goes back to Tesla, and they use that as part of their learning data or their training data to train the next version of the model. But basically, these things, you got to think of it as the car, every time the car sees an intersection or a piece of road, that is the first time it has ever seen it, because there is no memory of any prior times.
Okay.
Or it's not like other cars in the fleet have this kind of group think, or they have a group memory and they can tell each other, hey, watch out for this thing. That just doesn't happen. So the only time it ever evolves is when there's a new software update. And that's very much what Tesla has actually officially said.
Well, can't we put any pressure on Tesla to get us our 14 if we all get together, right, Tom? I'm waiting for it.
Out of 8 million owners, Australia
Yeah.
has 130,000
Well,
owners.
still, it's not a bad
Yeah, but
It's Tesla is doing their best to advance all these technologies. I think it's probably fair enough to say their biggest thing of, or the biggest task they have to work on is getting robo-taxis working in the States autonomously, completely, like no supervisor, nothing. And I dare say every other endeavor that Tesla is undertaking is doing it after that project has got full priority. So clearly, Tesla are working on a new model for Australia, bearing in mind that's a completely separate model to the rest of the world. I mean, as we know at the moment, there are only 3 models we know of. There's the United States, there's China, and there's Australia. And they're probably working in parallel with the UK, because we know that Europe is really just probably an extension of the American model with some variations, but they may have to localize it just like they did with China. So, yeah, very much so. The emphasis is on getting robotaxi without a supervisor. So all their training data at Cortex 1, because that's what's built, and Cortex 2 is, I think they're building that. It's all to do with the US cars, and that's rightly so, because that's where all the money is at the moment. And everything else has to just cope with the residual capacity that they've got.
And I'll tell you
That's okay.
I'll tell you another little story. I was in England and I hired a couple of Teslas when I was over there, and one of them had FSD on it. And here, which is basically enhanced autopilot, And here, when I use it, I indicate to change lanes, and instantly it'll change instantly. In England, it takes a second and a half before it'll change lanes, because that's a regulation, which I didn't realise till I got back and I heard about.
And what's worse, Europe
Drives
and
you
England
nuts.
is hostage to it as well, because they've still kept the same rules basically. In Europe, I think it's still the case. I was on an Austrian autobahn, or maybe it was an autobahn, but it was only 130 k's an hour speed limit, and we're coming up to a tighter bend, and the car was basically, I was in one of the middle lanes, and the car was slowly drifting to the outer part of the curve, because in Europe there's a regulation that says autopilot can't exert more than a certain amount of effort on steering by regulation. So then what it does is it just slowly drifts out of the lane because the lane's tightening, the curve is tightening more than a car is allowed to turn the steering wheel. And it just goes, oh, well, I've done my best effort. Tough titties, you know.
Wow.
Terrible. It's terrible what the Europeans have done to automation in that continent.
Hmm.
Anywho,
By
but
the
yeah.
way,
So
just want
go,
to,
Pete.
Harold, there is one exception to how you can buy enhanced autopilot still, and that's to buy a second-hand car through the inventory, because most of those cars come with, well, all of them come with enhanced autopilot. So there
Yeah,
is one roundabout by you can buy enhanced autopilot, but you got to buy the car with it.
that's
The
right.
summons doesn't work that well, but
No. So and the thing is, Tesla's basically decided that enhanced autopilot it's just not worth selling, because in fact, with enhanced autopilot, you're kind of in this no man's land because it will never be FSD of any kind. So it's a dead end, and it's just probably not worth their while offering it, because they've probably figured no one's going to buy it, or not many are going to buy it. And why would you? You might as well just either rent FSD for $149 a month once that comes out, or pay the 10,100 and be done with it. It's kind of it's a pointless stub, which is, I guess, a bit like what Tesla's decided to do in the States and may do in other jurisdictions, which is for the cheapest version of car, don't offer autopilot or don't include autopilot, but say, well, if you want really good control, just go straight to FSD, because that's where it's all about, or that's where it's all at.
Quite frankly, I'd be happy if the cruise control worked. Hi, I'm David.
Yes,
Um,
David. So, in what sense?
well, I regularly go up the Great Eastern Highway, and coming into Bakers Hill from Northern, it's a 60 zone, and then the car just accelerates to 100. And then further on down the lakes, the same thing happens. It's an 80 zone, and it accelerates
Yep,
away.
yep.
It's
Yeah, that can be quite frustrating, and it can do that even though the speed limit that it indicates is 60. It shows
indicating
60,
80,
but it
but
will,
it's taking
or
off.
yeah, and it goes up to 100 or 110. Yeah, that's a glitch. That's a known glitch that it does do in places, and that can be quite frustrating. And it can do it sometimes in 60 zones. When I get off at, well, before I had FSD working properly, just on autopilot, I'd get off at the Manning Road off ramp of the freeway, just under the Canning Highway bridge, and that's a 60 zone. And as you sort of go round the corner where you got this big concrete wall of Manning Road, the car would regularly just speed up to 100 k's an hour, and it does it quite promptly. So you've got to be onto it. That can be a bit frustrating, and that's on TAC or autopilot. So yeah, unfortunately, that's a
David,
known
David,
issue.
one thing that could help as a bit of a workaround is under the autopilot setting, there's a current speed setting. So speed limit or current speed. And if you select current speed, once you enable traffic aware cruise control or autopilot, it won't accelerate towards the speed limit, which is what your car's doing at the moment. Instead, it will just revert to whatever speed you're doing with the car at that time. And that prevents that sort of unwanted acceleration.
Okay, thanks. I knew there was a setting somewhere, but I wasn't sure which one to turn on or turn off. Or
yeah, it's under autopilot, and one says, I think, speed limit. I know the one that you want to select is called current speed.
Okay, thanks for that.
No worries.
The other thing I'd like to just follow up on, I've got a 2021 Model 3 with 55 Ks on it, and it's up for a new set of tyres. So I've had a look at the website, but there's nothing definitive there on what's the best option these days, and perhaps recommend a supplier. Tesla's price was over $2,000, and I think it's about 2.5 with a wheel aligner.
Just go to any of the mainstream tire suppliers. You know, your Tire Powers, your Jacks, your Ian Diffins, your whoever. The tires are pretty much ubiquitous, and they'll all know what the size is. I mean, you can obviously look on the sidewall yourself, but they'll know by the model of your car and the year of your car, or the size of the wheels. And you can get tires from as little as high 100s, I think, even possibly a bit less each. To yeah, I mean, people buy Michelin's and other more mainstream premium tires. To you got your Hancooks. Actually, they're probably getting a bit premium at the moment. Many other manufacturers, tire manufacturers.
The only thing I'd be looking for is, I guess, obviously a good wear life, but something that's a bit quieter than the standard ones. Any thoughts on that?
Look, tire noise is very subjective. A lot of the premium tires have foam infill, so there's like a strip of foam that's probably about, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 mils thick. That it's like a band of foam that is on the main tread part on the inside, so not on the sidewalls, and that's touted to make it quieter. To be brutally honest, you'd probably find it pretty hard to pick between those that say they're the quietest tire to those that don't say anything about noise. I do agree about, I always look for a tire. I militantly look for a tire that's got the highest tread wear index, because that's going to tell me that that's going to wear less quickly than any other brand. So of course you got your high performance tires like your Michelin, is it the Pilot Sport, whatever. They're super sticky, they're super this and that, and they're great on the track, and they'll wear out like anything.
But
and you look at their
Harold,
tread wear index.
I'd have to totally disagree with you. When I put new cars on my Model Y when I bought it 40,000 Ks ago, I swapped them over to my new car and wheels and tyres, and I ruptured one at 33,000 Ks. I thought, bugger, I have to change 2 tyres now because I won't have and they'd worn 1.2 millimetres in 33,000 Ks.
Yep.
They were expensive, but they'll probably do 70 or 80,000 Ks, and they're the sport tyres, and they're quiet. So, I mean, it's an investment, but I can't believe. So it saved me from replacing 2 tyres. I just replaced one.
Well, so I've had tyres, unfortunately. So unfortunately, my common experience has been the inners of I've had a performance Model Y, an old one, and that had a notoriously bad camber structurally. And if you talk to anyone that's got an M series, is it BMW and AMG Mercedes, you can optically see that their tires are leaning out like that. That's just what they do for geometry, and it chews. And people get impressed that their tires can go 20,000 Ks before being fully chewed out on the inside. I've always militantly gone for the higher tread wear wherever I could, and usually the tread wear index is a comparison between what's called a standard tire that was developed in the turn of the last century, and that tread wear index is called 100. So that's like an average tire should last 100 whatevers. And if you've got one that's got a tread wear index of 200 or 300 or 400, it means it should last 2 or 3 or 4 times longer in general. So I don't know do you know what the tread wear index is on the Pilot
320.
Sports,
320,
Richard?
I think it is.
No, I don't.
Oh, sorry, David. So, what was that again, Dave?
320.
Say again.
Oh, 320, 320. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. That's probably plausible. I think I've got like Hankook. They're expensive. Hankook Evo AS whatevers. That because it's the Model Y that I've got them on, and I think their tread wear index has got a 5 in front, but I could be mistaken. Or it's very high 400s at the very least. But look, it's subjective. You can get cheap tires, and
Yeah, I don't like cheap. I know you get,
Yeah.
safety is an issue, I think.
So David,
look, safety. If anything, if you
Fine,
buy a
cheap,
tire that's more than
fine.
$200 each, it's going to be safe as houses. Well, actually, they're all going to be rated pretty well for safety, but you know, and
Just make sure. Sorry, just make sure that it's the right weight rating, because your car's a bit heavier, and the right speed rating. But yeah, Harold's right about the foam. So I had some Continentals, and they came in 2 variants, identical tyre, the only difference being the foam inside. And the tyre with the foam was about $40 more, so about $160 across 4 tyres. And so I was given the option between the 2. I decided to go for no foam, and I could not tell the difference. Now, I'm sure if I had a microphone and a decibel, counter or something, there would have been a difference, but my ears could not tell the difference. And if you listen to the radio, or if you listen to, podcast or music or what have you, I'm sure you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. But one thing I found with some of the brands that you've heard of, so I've had good experiences with Continentals and Goodyears, and every now and then they tend to come up on special and discounted prices. And I think I got Goodyears for something like $170, $175 a tyre, and just under 200. So and I was very happy, and they're still on the cars now. So that was a couple of years ago. So yeah, the cars have probably done 50,000 kilometres at least since then.
Okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate that.
can I ask, where do you find that TWI? Because I've never seen it before, and I'm looking on a tyre page now.
Oh, no, it says. Oh yeah, it's so hard. Don't even bother, Mike. It's so frustrating. It's like a state secret. The only way to find it is on the sidewall of the tyre. And I've actually resorted to trying to zoom in on some of the images that some of the tyre retailers have to see if I can see it, and you often can't. It's it's like a state secret. They do not spruik it. It really annoys me, to be brutally honest, because that's the one metric I always look at.
No, thanks for that, Harold. I'll give it the mirror treatment when I come round to do mine at whenever.
Harold,
Yeah.
is that tread wear index on every tyre?
Yes,
So that was me.
absolutely. It has tread wear,
speed rating.
weight, speed. Yeah, the speed. I think the speed's inherent in the actual numbers. The main, you get your 195/45/ da da da, and then W, and I think no, there's W plus S, which is winter plus summer. So it's an all year tire, which we have, but in Europe and northern latitudes you have winter tires and summer tires. There's a weight rating. I think that's part of the actual. Is that there's the W? There are various ratings, but the tread wear is not part of that main number or alphanumeric nomination. It's a separate thing, and it's in small print, and it says tread wear. Oh, there's traction. There's traction, and I think that's a letter. I think there's A or triple A or
Yeah, it's
something. There's traction.
double A.
Yeah,
It's double A, B, or C. For
yeah,
traction.
and then there's tread wear, and there's something else. Temperature.
Temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about temperature or traction. You just need to worry. Well, I look at tread wear, but like I said, that's because I've had the bitter experience of throwing away tires, whereby 3/4 of the tire was perfectly okay, and the very inner edge was just completely worn down. And I just militantly insist on trying to get the hardest tire compound to slow that process down. Bearing in mind the new Juniper that I've got now, the new Model Y, which is now the classic new Model Y, the launch edition. I must admit, I've just driven over 40,000 Ks in it, and I haven't even looked at the tyres.
Wow.
I'm very confident they're perfectly okay. Yeah, I just haven't even looked at them. But I'm sure they're good for another. Sorry, Richard, say again.
I just looked at the tread wear rating on the Pilot Sport EVs is 320, and the Michelin Pilot Sport 5s, which are on my other car, 340. But that's
Right.
I've never had a wheel alignment in 120,000 Ks, and they wear perfectly. I even measured the tread depth across the tyres.
Yep.
So they hold their wheel alignment really well, these cars.
On the Teslas,
By
I
the way,
recommend a tyre rotation of 10,000 Ks. So every 10,000, you should swap them from front to back. I militantly am going to refuse to do that, and I just want to see what the fronts and the backs do on this new Model Y to see how.
Is
how
that
it
a dual
compares.
motor or a single motor?
Dual motor. It's the
Yes. They wear
it's
the
the
same.
long range.
Yeah, they wear the same.
But by the way, the weight rating is called the load index. So it's a
Yes.
lot you may want to Google or look up.
But like I said, they any of the mainstream tire retailers, you just tell them you've got a Tesla Model 3 with 18, 19 or 20-inch rims, and they'll know exactly what the tires are. Oh, sorry, what the
Oh, just
size specs and weight specs as well, because that's something that tire retailers have to get right, and they're compelled to do that.
And there's no
you can just
problem.
give your rego, and they should be able to tell from the rego what model and variant car you have, and then they'll know which tires.
Who would you recommend though? Because I got ripped off about $700 for one tire when I had
Cool.
a puncture.
Yeah, but that's because you had a puncture. You were a grudge purchase, and they just went, well, this is so much. Like they saw you coming, Des. Yeah,
You know how to make a guy feel good.
well.
Yeah.
The lesson for next time is if the puncture was something like a large tech screw, just go to somewhere like Repco, Supercheap Auto, or any of the tire retailers. The automotive accessory retailers, and get yourself one of those unvulcanized rubber slug things. Jam that in, and yes, I know everywhere in all the instructions and all the paraphernalia it says this is a emergency temporary repair. I put in one of those emergency temporary repairs in my old Model X tyre, and it lasted for the next 40,000 Ks of the rest of that tyre's life.
Yeah. Picked up another puncture, but they only charged me, I think it was $50 to repair that one. But it was a slow leak, it was easy. But unfortunately, my wife was driving at the time.
I know. Totally understand. Yeah. No, and look, these things happen. Sometimes, what's the saying, that education isn't free? Every time you learn something, it costs you money.
Yeah.
So, and the thing too is tire people, I guess rightly so, are very conservative as far as what punctures they will repair safely.
Yeah.
Because the presumption is that you may drive that tire at its rated speed limit which in the Teslas is between 200 and 250 kilometers per hour, which in Australia is illegal on any gazetted road. Um, uh, Shane and Sarah are quite great friends of Ask Us Anything. When they were towing a caravan and they had boarded the Spirit of Tasmania ferry on the way to Melbourne, we found out just as we'd all boarded that Shane had a cut in his sidewall,
Yeah.
and we decided while they still hadn't blocked access to the cargo area where the cars are, we jammed a few unvulcanized slugs into his sidewall. It took 3 slugs to stop the hissing, so he called the thing that came out a hexapus because it had 6 legs, and that worked all the way across the Nullarbor, towing a caravan back to Perth from Melbourne,
That's
Geelong
amazing.
actually. So these things work. They're not pretty, but they'll get you through, and then they'll give you the time that you need to get a spare in an orderly fashion.
Yeah.
As long as it's only let's call it either a slow leak or maybe a minor large leak.
Yeah, but good conversation. So thanks, Jansen. Appreciate it.
No worries. All right. Oh, sorry, Mike, you've got your hand up.
Yes. Just going back to our start of our conversation, because I hadn't been thinking about it much. A lot of people moaning about it's not the new what they call standard vehicles are not as cheap as they wanted. But if you've any sort of understanding of engineering and manufacturing, you think about the Tesla vehicles, and my understanding is there's not as much labor, and there's a lot of robotics in the manufacturing. So, I think it's funny. I don't know if you guys know, but in my various roles, we had things called Pareto charts, and some people know what a Pareto chart is. Well, Harold, you don't. You're an engineer. Aren't you?
No, but
Okay,
just
all right.
just give us a quick
Yeah,
30-second.
Pareto
Yep.
chart. So a Pareto chart, if you plot anything that is a collection of things, and you have, let's say, just take maintenance on a car, there will be a few things which require the most maintenance, and then there will be a tail of things that require smaller maintenance, and so you end up with this sort of I don't know what you call it, a J on its side or whatever you call it, so you end up with maybe 3 things which are 50% of the problem, but that it doesn't necessarily be a problem. So if you take manufacturing costs or something, and you're looking to reduce your costs, there'll be a few things which, if you nail on the head, will reduce most of your things. And if you think about a Tesla and what its costs are, you've got the battery, obviously, you've got the 2 motors, and then the frame itself, and a bit of the electronics and the cooling. The rest of it, which I will call cosmetics, are going to be at the thin end of the cost Pareto. So they actually are not going to be able to take huge chunks off a current model unless they physically reduce the size of it. So less aluminium, obviously less battery, less weight, lower suspension. There's a whole bunch comes out. So people would, I think, cross-mixing, should we call it the Model 2 or whatever it was called back whenever,
Yeah.
with these more affordables that we've got at the moment, which they are more affordable, obviously, because it's a bit off. But thinking about it, people need to understand that they're not going to be able to pull a rabbit out of the hat with things that look like what we've currently got.
And that's right, because even though in the old days you used to buy, if you're talking Ford language, the Ford Falcon, Fairmont Gear, Fairlane Ltd, and they were kind of variations. But if we just picked the Falcon and the Fairmont, they were identical, and the only difference was the trim. You had a digital, they had a digital dash, you had a nicer stereo, you had little bling bits and stuff like that. And those options would cost thousands of dollars. Sorry, would cost you as the purchaser thousands of dollars. But of course, the Fairmont Ghia was the one where Ford made the most money because that was the one where they put in $500 worth of items and they extracted $5,000 worth of money out of you. So there's a big difference between the retail price reducing and the actual cost reducing. So like the rear touchscreen on the refreshed Model Ys and the refreshed Model 3s, as much as that looks nice and expensive, it probably costs Tesla, well, it'd be less than $100, much less than $100 in volume. So by deleting that, they've only taken $100 off their cost. The glass roof, maybe it was half price because the advanced coatings are expensive, but I don't even know how much glass roof costs. Maybe that's a few $100 compared to something else. The roof liner bit that they put in its place costs almost nothing, Battery cells, yes, they have an incremental cost. They took out, I don't know, 10% or 5% or something, but that's 5% of the cell cost. It's not 5% of the constructed cost. And if you're just deleting cells, you're really just saving the cell cost, not the assembly cost so much, because
Trivial.
everything else is sort of, the packaging's the same. You're right, Mike, with the, like, if you try and save cost by making it smaller, you've got to make it a lot smaller, because the other thing too is Teslas are the safest cars on earth, and that's proven, that's been proved in crash testing, not just crash avoidance, but crash testing. And when you've got the high boron steel parts that protect the shell, making a slightly smaller car doesn't really take a lot of material out of those parts. So it's really difficult to extract cost out without deleting features. And the fact is, one of the dearer items is the AI4 computer, or that whole system. Actually, not just the computer. The computer's probably not that expensive. It's the fact that you've got all the actuators. So you've got the steering actuators, you've got the brake actuators, and all that sort of stuff. And they are expensive. That you've got electromechanical power-assisted steering. That stuff's expensive, and it's still exactly the same in the reduced cost Model Y. So in fact, if you look at it, the more affordable vehicle has a whole set of fixed costs which are identical to the more expensive, the premium version. Like literally identical, and you're only really pecking at some of the margins.
Yes.
So, yeah, it was never realistic. And also because of time constraints and economic constraints, Tesla hasn't got the time to bring out the unboxed process for those models. I'm pretty sure Tesla's bringing out the unboxed process for the Cybercab. So I think they're doing that in an unboxed process, and that's where. So for anyone that's not sure about what that means, Henry Ford invented the moving production line, assembly line, and the car is assembled as, like, basically you build up the body in white, which is basically the body without anything in it, all its components. You got all the door openings, the floor, the roof, everything, bonnet, doors, and I think it was Lars Moravia that explained that you actually, or maybe it was Franz von Holzhausen, said you put the doors and all the outer bits on, all the metal bits. You go through and you assemble it. You go through the paint shop. You paint everything. You then take the doors off and sort of store them elsewhere. I think that's for paint matching. And then you put everything on. You got to then, through all these openings, you got to put in the dash, the seats, all the bits and pieces, and motors and everything else, and then you sort of all put it as one big lump. Now, when you have an unboxed process, you split the car into sections. So there's a front section, there's a middle section, and then there's a rear section. And it's like they do with aeroplanes. Aeroplanes are made in, well, tubes. Cylinders, sections, segments. And literally you glue and rivet and bond and whatever those segments together. Now, in traditional car manufacturing, it's unboxed is well, it's unheard of because you got problems with things like hydraulic fluid brake lines, which have to span the entire length of the car. Otherwise, at each section where you basically bolt these things together, you're going to have a union to join, and that's just another point of failure, and it's difficult, and it's just a pain in the rear end. So, and none of the car manufacturers really thought that there was a problem with the way they manufactured cars reliably for the last 100 years. So Tesla, it's taken Tesla to think out of the box, but they're not. And the beauty of the unbox process is if you've got a front section of the car, you fit everything to it: wheels, computers, dash, whatever, or for that front section, the bonnet, everything. It's all as one subassembly, and then you bond it to the middle assembly, which already has all its components fitted to it. And the beauty is, rather than a human having to crawl inside this shell of a car to try and insert stuff into it, you're actually working on the car on the outside, and you can basically surround, say, a third of the car on all four sides with people, robots, whatever, and inputs. And then you can do that for the back part section, you can do that for the front section. So you've got, I can't think off the top of my head, 3 or 4 or 5 times as many opportunities to fit things unencumbered with, confined space. And then Tesla's patent that they've just had published 1 or 2 weeks ago goes into detail to explain that they actually use various locating pins, they're like dowels, and they have fast acting and slow acting adhesives. And there's a fast acting adhesive where they can basically just jam it together, and that holds it tight enough for the slow acting strong adhesive to properly go off down the production line when they're assembling these entirely pre-tested sub-assemblies. So effectively you get a whole front sub-assembly, middle sub-assembly, and a rear sub-assembly, all pre-tested, so you know everything's working and functional and verified, and then you just basically glue them together. And that's a real revolution, but that was a bit too risky to implement now for this more affordable car. However, the Robotaxi will be a version of a more affordable car, because I think Tesla's aiming at making that for about $25,000. And there will be probably spin-offs of a small version of that car that can be manually driven. But then if you ask Elon Musk, he'll probably say, look, he doesn't care, because in 5 years' time, no one's going to be buying a car. We'll just be using robotaxis, basically.
To make that possible, everything's going to have to be by wire, steer by wire and
Yes.
brake by wire. So they just click the wires together and drive it off. No
So
hydraulic.
they'll dispense with hydraulic lines for brakes. And there's nothing wrong with that, actually, because even current ICE cars that have advanced ABS, if the computers aren't working, your brakes aren't going very well anyway. So there's no point harking back. It's no different to the Cybertruck, which has dispensed with a mechanical linkage to the steering mechanism. They've just said, you just make the computers bulletproof and redundant. Same as aeroplanes. Aeroplanes no longer have stainless steel cables going to their control surfaces. You just accept if your computers die, well, then you die. Just don't make them die. Or if you do, have some survive that can still fly or drive. And that's what they do.
High hazard industries have done this a long time ago.
It's just, you just do the numbers. You just work out what is the acceptable failure rate, and as long as there's enough decimal points to the right that is acceptable, given the cost, that's what you do.
And people who are not of an engineering ilk don't really appreciate just the reduction in the number of parts between the cars we drive and everybody else's car. That alone, if nothing else, even if it didn't have its own self-driving computer, even if it was a manually driven car, that electric vehicle is inherently safer and better and lower cost to run than any other type of engine-based vehicle. So, you know, again, those of us who worked in the high hazard industry, no part's the best part.
That's why, is it single engine planes are safer than dual engine planes? Generally?
No, not quite, because there's a single point of failure, so not quite.
Yeah, but I thought that
it's about probability and
or
multiplication.
is it that the difference between a 2-engine and a 4-engine is much safer for a 4 than a
Yes, that's
2.
right.
Sorry, a 2 than a 4.
Yes.
So that's why all the big planes have just gone, well, except for the very biggest, have just gone 2.
Yeah, unless
because
you need
that's the best
thrust,
combo.
which don't. Yep.
Exactly.
Probability is
Darren,
an interesting thing. Another conversation.
yeah, indeed. Darren, you got your hand up.
Yeah, thanks for the use of the cones and the spare tyre.
Yeah, no worries.
Basically, a question for when I suppose the data and that of when you've finished travelling for the day, do you need to take a photo of it, or is there somewhere else I can find out what kilowatts I've used up to a certain point, or do you set it through your trip meter, or?
Okay, so, well, I mean, the thing is, once you've made it to your destination, look, all I do is I just take a photo of my trip meter. So that's only just for interest. I mean, in a sense, what you've just driven is in the past. Oh, no, actually, no, that's not true. Sorry. So it can definitely help to remember or know what you just did, because say you're traveling 250 kilometers between charging stops, and the next one is 300 k's or something else. At least you can use what you did on the last leg as a good reference point for what will probably happen on the next leg, so that you can just do some mental maths. So if you've got a standard range Model Y, worst case, you just presume off the top of your head that you've got about 53 kilowatt hours to use, so 53,000 watt hours. And if you're full, and for example, if you need to travel 300 kilometers, you could just get 53,000 and divide by 300, and that's 176.6. So that says, for me to make it at 100% for 300 Ks, I've got to average 176.6 watt hours per kilometer. Now, if your last leg you achieved 168, well, then you know you're going to make it no problems at the same speed that you did last time. So, yeah, it is kind of handy to have that knowledge. And all I do for simplicity is just take a photo of my trip meter. So you've got two parts of the trip.
Yeah, that's what it sort of started doing. But when we pulled up to camp tonight, I plugged it in before.
Yes. Okay.
Taking the photo.
No. That's totally fine. So there are two parts of your trip. There's 3 or 4 parts of your trip meter. There's an odometer, which is just your total Ks. And by the way, you can just go into your menu button of your car and go into trips, and there are 2 resettable, the A and Bs. I highly recommend anyone that buys their car, and if you haven't done it already, get the B trip meter if it hasn't been reset since you bought it. Change it to lifetime. It's just personal preference, and never delete it, because I like to know what the lifetime average of my car was. That's just me. Whereas trip A, you can just use. I use it for every time I do a lap. I just call it whatever lap. But you also have a current drive trip meter. That's the one that resets as soon as you plug in. But there's also since charge. Now, interestingly, as long as you are still charging and you haven't stopped charging, it will still show the stats of your last trip since you charged the previous time. Because I've actually made that mistake where I've gone, oh, bugger, I forgot to take a photo before I started charging. But it's okay because, in fact, I think you can even have charging stopped as long as you don't go into drive or something like that. It'll still be there. So if you go to your car now, the trip meter bit that says since last charge, that will still have your watt hours per kilometre and your distance, I think, since you last charged.
Yeah.
So that keeps that. What you do lose on the current trip, it shows kilometres, watt hours per kilometre, and time.
Time, hours, yeah.
So you'll lose your time when you plug in, but on your since charge trip meter, it'll still show you watt hours and kilometres from where you last charged your car. So something else on the long legs, I didn't do it on this lap, but the one before, if you do the 450 k's between Three Ways and Camberwell, you've got to have a break somewhere because your bladder just can't last that long. And you'll lose the current trip stats, but it'll be retained on your since charged because the current trip starts as soon as you put it back into drive after you put it into park.
Okay, yeah.
Darren, there's also a few OBD apps like TasLab and Tezzy, and they're quite good in terms of your historical trip record and all sorts of data.
So you can access those just off the app through the OBD, or you need something plugged into a port?
No. So those two, you don't need any physical hardware. So all you need is a internet connection, basically, and you've got to give the apps access to your car through your Tesla account. But yeah, OBD just stands for onboard diagnostics. So it's got just a plethora of other information that you may find useful. But the basic things that it does, or one of the basic things, is your trip history. So it will tell you when you started your trip, when you finished your trip, the watt hours you used, the kilometres, the time, and it will keep a historical record of that.
Provided your car's got internet at the places where you start and stop your trip.
Exactly. Yeah, I've got a Mini with me, so.
Awesome! Yeah, fantastic. So
that's what I'm using now. So
to be honest, Darren, you don't need. Look, the ideal is if you have a dongle hooked up to your CAN bus and you've got like Scan My Tesla, which will give you your exact battery state of charge in kilowatt hours. But you haven't got that now, so don't worry about it, because you can still just go via like a few rules of thumb. Like I said, if you've got a standard range Model Y, if you just presume you've got 53,000 watt hours at 100%, and you can just derate it. So if you've got 80%, you just multiply that by 0.8. But I just keep doing what you're doing, which is one good trick, because when you're not going to do any of the very long distances, you're not going to do the 450 k's between Three Ways and Camberwell. You're going to overnight at Barclay Homestead.
Yeah.
You're going to do Derby instead of go Broome to Fitzroy Crossing, which both Pete and I did non-stop, and which can be done, especially if you leave early in the morning and you just do 80 k's an hour for a couple of hours and see how you go, and then you'll be fine. But, you might as well just go to Derby and be the 10th EV that's ever been to Derby, because there aren't that many on PlugShare. You'll be totally fine. You really will be. I wouldn't stress myself out trying to clutch at some other thing that you can install or whatever at this stage, because you're boxing along. Where are you tonight?
S-Bend's just below Geraldton.
Oh, yeah.
So
did you say Esperance? No, you can't be Esperance. You mean
S-Bend. So between Donga and Geraldton.
Yes. Yep. No, very well. Yep, on the S-Bend. Yep.
So yeah, we're not travelling at your speed. We started about 11 o'clock today, and then got here about 5, so
Yeah. Actually, I might. That just gives me an awesome opportunity
but yeah,
to.
we just got a powered site and basically got the car plugged in. It's just slowly trickling in, but it's not like we need the power for the car, so
No.
mainly to charge up other bits and pieces so as we can run the Starlink and so.
Yeah, very good. So what I'm going to do is.
Do you know what you know how you got the cigarette lighter things? What would be the highest inverter you could put into the or draw up the cigarette lighter ones on the car?
What do you want to power?
There's probably the Starlink would be the biggest
Oh
one.
no. Okay, so how are you powering the Starlink at the moment?
I've got a lithium external battery.
Oh, okay. So now what car have you got? You got a standard range Model Y, but how old is it?
So I've got a fridge in a 22. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So with the fridge, power the fridge off the back port, the back 12-volt outlet.
Yeah.
And the Starlink.
I've got a separate 60 amp hour battery doing the fridge, and then.
Oh, okay. Are you?
So while we're at the caravan park, that's just on a car charger sort of thing, just re-topping that up.
Is the fridge a 12-volt or a 240-volt fridge?
12-volt.
Oh, okay. So you can run the fridge directly off the 12-volt back port, regardless of your battery. Yeah. And you can run your Starlink, if you've got the correct cable, off the front 12-volt outlet in your center console.
So
at the same time, because they're two separate supplies.
But not off the C cable, just off of a.
No, it won't work off the USB-C because on the new Model Y, the classic Model Ys, the ones that aren't the refresh, that aren't the Juniper, their USB-C doesn't have PD, doesn't have the power delivery feature. So Starlink won't run. Even though Starlink only takes 25 watts, it won't work off USB-C from the classic Model Ys. But if you've got that 3-way cable, which I hope you have, or how are you running Starlink at the moment?
I've got another 60 amp hour battery, lithium battery in the back of the car.
Darren.
I just borrowed the Mini off my brother, and I just whacked it in. And
it's cool. Yeah. Okay. No worries.
Let's get this trip underway.
Yeah. No. That's totally cool. Oh, geez. I wish you'd told me that last week. Because you could have gone to Amazon Prime and in less than 24 hours gotten a 3-way cable for your Starlink Mini that has the DC connector. Oh, we just got to mute Anthony's iPad because that's just some funky feedback. So you'd have a 12-volt outlet, inlet, 12-volt plug, Starlink's DC plug, and a USB-C plug at one end, and the Starlink Mini's DC plug at the other end, and you got a choice of 3 power sources. Okay, so since you're doing this, can you recharge your batteries off the 12-volt power source?
No.
Those lithium batteries that you're powering this stuff with, the fridge and the Starlink. Right, so you got to do it off 240 volts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Which you can do overnight at each place.
Yeah, when we're out somewhere. So, and like the batteries that I got, I'm thinking would run the Mini for 2 or 3 days anyway, and same with the fridge. So.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, just persist with that for now.
Yeah.
It's kind of a bit late to change it, but yeah, for next time, the Mini you can just power off the 12-volt cigarette lighter outlet. And you can just buy that from Amazon or others, but Amazon was about $30 or $40, I think. $40 for that cable.
So is there a particular name for it, or is it just 3 in 1
Oh,
cable.
look, I haven't got that.
No.
Give me a buzz tomorrow, and I'll send you the link. If you just search Starlink 3-way power adapter, Starlink Mini, and if you've got an Amazon Prime account, well, you're already
Yeah,
you're
I
already
could
half.
get it sent. Could get it sent to someone up as we're travelling around, sort of thing. Friends we're going to drop in. So
Yeah. Well, actually, yeah, you probably could. I don't know how the delivery is away from Perth.
Yeah.
Strangely, Amazon keeps it at their Jandakot warehouse. They keep them in stock, and
Actually, I just found it, Darren. It's called a, so this is the one that Harold recommended on the show about 3 months ago. It's the one that he's referring to. I bought it the next day after he recommended it. It's been absolutely brilliant. It's called if you just search for 3-in-1 Starlink mini cable, it's 5 meters in length, and it's $39.94.
nice. All right.
if you order it before like 2 p.m., you get it before 10 p.m. that same day. It's ridiculous in Perth.
So Pete, you mentioned the Tezzy app and another one.
TezLab, TezLab, and Tez is spelled TESSIE.
Yeah.
I'll try to put a link to this cable on the chat as well, the Amazon link.
No worries. All right. Thanks
Cool.
for that.
No worries. But seriously, Darren, I'd be less inclined to battle with those apps than just run the numbers that you see on the screen, because it's like some people use a better route planner. You're better off using your own local knowledge, to be honest. Just run the numbers. You know how your car's going, and you know the distance you've got. And actually, like you say, because you're doing it fairly slowly, even though now you're charging off a 10 amp outlet, well, you don't even need charging because you're probably charged up at Lanston or Jurien Bay anyway. You're just getting bonus. And your car will probably be fairly full in the morning when you take off. So, no, you'll be totally fine. The main thing is, just to reiterate from last week, do keep a track of what ChargeFox is showing each location for your next day. And just have a look at some PlugShare posts.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Thanks for that.
Awesome. And enjoy the rest of your trip.
That link should be in chat now, Darren.
All right. Thanks.
Got a quickie for Pete, if I may.
Yes.
Pete, I saw your post on the upload gigs from your vehicle today on X. What have you? Is that a specific app on your iPhone, or how do you get to that information?
Sorry, Mike. Which post are you referring to?
So you were posting, I think it was you, fairly sure it was you, about how much upload in terms of data was going back to our friends at Tesla, and you showed like a screen from a phone.
No, that wasn't me.
That wasn't you. Oh, okay, sorry.
I know a few of those posts that have been going around, and I think I reposted, but it wouldn't have been like it would not have been me that originated that post. Would repost. I'm just having a look.
Sorry about that, Pete.
Can you walk to the car with it?
Mike.
Might have been Darren's missus.
Yeah, it wasn't me today, but
Sorry,
I
Pete.
posted.
Does anybody know then? Because I've seen a few guys do that, and I'd be sort of interested.
I know.
He wakes up in mine.
Once Harold jumps back on, I know he monitors his traffic.
Yeah.
So
unless it was Harold then instead of you, because I always mix you two up. Well, while we're waiting for Harold to come back,
Well,
then
one of us has got hair, and the other one has brains. So
yes,
that's one. one's lacking hair, the other one's lacking brains.
speaking of which, the one lacking brains has come back. Oh no, sorry, that was the other one. Hey Harold, I was just asking. I've seen a few posts on X which I thought came from Pete today, but I was mistaken. People are showing how much gigabytes are going back from their vehicles to Tesla. So
Yes.
upload volume, and it looked like it was an app on a phone. And I was just wondering, how do you do that? Is it any app? Can you do it, or do you need one of the
No.
OBD
So
things?
yeah, so I'm going to show you. Sorry, I've just got to log in, and it's probably going to have two-factor authentic. Oh no, it won't. Oh, very good. Okay, so I'm going to show you what my car's done, which is really disappointing because it's all got to do with your modem or your router
Yes.
or whatever. I use a Ubiquiti Dream Machine thingy, UDM, Ubiquiti Dream Machine Pro, and it's got a nice interface whereby once I get it up, and it'll show you all the traffic going through. Right. So I'll just make sure there's nothing private on here.
Yeah, I went there first to my router, but I've got a scummy
No.
old Telstra router from way
Okay.
back.
So this is my one. This is a first. So it's actually uploaded. Hang on. If I go for a week, it'll make it a bit easier. 6 gigabytes, but it's actually 4.78 plus 6. So let's call it 10 gigabytes. But it's been quite like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, nothing. Sunday, just a little bit. If I go back to a month, that blank period here was during my lap, so obviously I wasn't here. But when I got back, there were 15, 40, 30, 34. But back the week before that, there was like 150 gigabytes. It was huge data going up to the mothership. And in fact, all the data in the last month upload has been 327. And if I pick a bit before that, 150 gigabyte, like massive amounts, half a terabyte of data, which is mostly video of all the cameras and that sort of stuff. And it's kind of dropped off. And I think that's because Tesla is probably more in their latter phase of programming the next model. And it's like this pointless to gather much more data because it'll just be stale. Because when they put in the new version, everyone will be using that. So the errors were probably more useful 1 or 2 weeks ago as opposed to now. But yeah, sadly, unless you've got a modem that shows some of this stuff, I mean, I don't know if the D-Link stuff or whatever shows it. I've like I said, I've got Hollywood Ubiquiti stuff, so it shows everything, and it shows it according to each client, so you can isolate a car or whatever.
Yeah. So more important stuff. I was unable to make last Sunday because we had prior commitments. How did Busselton go?
Yeah. Oh, it was very good. Steve, you want to give us a report on Busselton?
Yes, it went quite well. We had about 25 people there.
Ooh.
A range of people from locally from Margaret River, Busselton, Bunbury, and a few people came down from Perth as well. The venue was good. They were quite accommodating, let us move tables around so we could do something work with us. People used the superchargers before and after. It was quite pleasant. Weather was good for a drive.
Yes. Shame I missed it. Wanted to do a bit of a road trip in the old beast, which we haven't really done yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, Darren, you're still online, and I know that you say I go a little bit faster than most. this, just as a teaser, this is, we'll just let this run in the background. I'm going to change it back off in a second. But this is obviously in real time. And then just around the corner, oh, a couple more forward bits. That's now at 4 times the speed of sound. So we'll just let that, we're just cruising along the freeway, and we'll just let that run in the background. And we'll come back to it in about 3 minutes, and then we should be near Dongara, past the S-bend. But yeah, obviously don't drive that quickly. All right, we've got the last half hour of the program. In fact, in that half hour, we should get to Karratha roughly. Any more? In fact, we've already gone past Yanchep. We're already past the top of the freeway, and that was just in a minute or so, not even. All right. Any more questions or comments in this last 20 minutes of the program?
I suppose I've got one in that.
Yes, Pete.
To do with insurance. I had a chat to Colin in Busselton about, because he was suggesting Shannon's, which I thought was a good idea. I tried Shannon's. I tried Budget Direct, Amy, and damned if I had to come back to RAC, who for my car was $2,800. Wasn't that impressed, but it went. I can't remember if it was Budget Direct. Anyway, one of them was $6,000 to insure my car. I thought 2,800 was quite staggering and over the top, but
yep,
they were the cheapest by at least $200 to $300. There was, I can't remember who it was, whether it was Shannon's or Amy, that were $200 or $300 dearer than RAC, but the story is I was back at RAC, and I find them difficult to deal with. Their claims department is excellent, but if you've got to ring them up or communicate with them, they're disgusting. But other than that, I'm back with them. Just for public information, it's I've still had to go there. So some of the quotes were quite staggering.
Yep.
Although
Yep.
Colin got a number of quotes, and his he found Shannon's the best, and I think was probably a very good option for him. But there's no real good choice at the moment.
Yeah, Pete, if there's any consolation, I had the same experience. Also ended up at RAC.
The last few years, insurance has been like daylight robbery.
It's gone stupid.
Someone we both know, Pete, who has a Model X, a white one, he's resorted militantly to just getting third-party fire and theft.
I was tempted this time, but I didn't.
Yeah.
At 6K a year, I mean, what would that car be worth now? Would it be worth $50,000? So as
mine's listed as 100.
Right.
Oh wow.
Okay.
But then yours in mint condition and low Ks, Pete. So
It is.
yeah.
So
But they don't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's possibly why your premiums are so high, because you've got it listed at $100,000. So
No, that's their valuation, not mine. They've never insured it for my valuation.
right.
Yeah. Right.
They
But yeah,
always dictate the valuation.
that if the value of if the insured value is considerably higher than the market value, then the premiums start to exponentially increase. And it sort of makes sense because, if you had a $10 item that you tried to insure for $1 million, the chances of you losing it would be a lot higher.
Most of the valuations they put on were the same as what RAC had put on. I didn't inflate it at all.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah,
Yeah, right.
$100,000, that's, very generous, I would have thought.
No, well, not according to the figures these days. I took out I can't think what I did anyway. I checked on valuation and someone had it from 75 up to 140 or something.
What
Valuation.
model is yours? Yours an ADD or?
Oh, no,
100D.
100D.
100. Okay, right.
In fact, Pete, is yours the Raven or maybe just pre-Raven? Might be
I'd say it's pre-Raven.
pre-Raven, yeah.
So what's that, a 2018?
Oh,
It's a 30th of September 2020. Oh, that's delivery date.
yeah.
2020.
Yeah, I think it might be just pre-Raven, perhaps.
I suspect it's the last or second last delivery in Australia.
Oh, it should be a Raven then, Pete. No, it should be. So, do you have adjustable shocks where the ride quality changes automatically or something? It's adaptive.
Yes, I do.
Oh, yeah, it's Raven. Yeah, so it's a Raven.
Isn't it? Okay.
Yeah, so it's Raven. Yeah, so you're right. It's one of the last. It's one of the later deliveries.
Yes.
Because Tesla dismantled the factory, the lines in at the end of 2021. Because Pete and I ordered Model X's in early January 2022, for which they were promised to be delivered in March the same year, even though the actual production lines had been dismantled at Fremont. And then Tesla subsequently went to cancel the orders.
I remember that.
Yeah, so which wasn't fantastic, but anyway, that's another story. But yeah, the insurance thing, it's a sad case, and sadly, Western Australia, we used to be generally in a good value insurance area, and we used to wonder at how the people over east would pay so much for insurance, and it seems now Australia has become completely flat, and we're all paying the same exorbitant rates, and we're, I dare say, subsidising a lot of the large claims that are being made over east for things that aren't even car related, a la floods, fires, other things.
But Peter, I just had a look on car sales. There's no 2020s. So the latest Model X is 2018. So these are 100Ds. So I'm only looking at 100Ds. And there's one with 54,000 kilometres. It's a 2018 100D for 68,990 in New South Wales.
Oh, but Pete, don't forget, in eastern states, the prices are a fair bit lower than here because they've got a mature market, whereas ours is more restricted. So,
well, there isn't a single 100D in WA for sale. That's 2018 or younger.
I'd
can
say,
understand why.
Yeah, no one wants to sell them because you can't replace it with anything. There's nothing comparable to a Model X as an EV in Australia, except for another Model X, which you can't buy.
Just as a matter of interest, going to the downloads and uploads, got some of the equipment to you, Pete. So total traffic for the month was 23.2 gigabytes, 6.93 down, and 16.3 gigabytes up. Now I've just got a standard Model Y, just for interest.
But does you have FSD?
No FSD.
Oh no, sorry. Oh yeah, okay. So it's only if you've got FSD active.
Yeah.
FSD supervised down under. That's when the data just goes through the roof, literally through the roof.
Yeah.
Now going through the roof is currently on this same bit of video. Oh, is that going to work? We're on our way to Billabong. And quick wipe of the windscreen, charge off, and we're going. So Darren, we've already in just the last 10 minutes we've gone from Perth to Billabong Roadhouse on the way to Carnarvon. So you got to hurry up. And in another couple of minutes we'll be in Carnarvon. It's great when you go at 4 times the speed of sound because not even sound can beat you, and they can't hear you coming. All right, last 15 minutes. Any other questions or comments? Oh, might get to go to bed a bit earlier, perhaps.
I've just unmuted myself. I had the boys from Clean NRG come and replace my Tesla Powerwall because I had Powerwall 2, and they turned it on and nothing happened. Nada, nothing. Wouldn't even light
Oh,
it. Nothing.
right.
Nothing.
Did
So
they try? Did they try harder?
they tried harder and then they left. So I've got a lovely white brick. If anybody wants one.
No. Which means your solar panels. Oh
No,
no.
so I've got one working, but the one that they replaced is even worse. At least the other one lit up. This was dead as a doornail, nothing. So I rang Clean NRG about something else, and they said, "Oh, I'll leave it with us." And I said, I wasn't very impressed with your install crew. I don't think they knew what they were on about anyway. So that's interesting. So I've still got no FSD and I've got one Powerwall, but I'm happy.
Yes. Yeah. Well. Yeah. What can you do? You just got
First
to
world
be
problem.
patient.
Yeah.
It is a first world problem. Dearie me. All right. Well, after that little bit, have you got anyone else that's got a question or a comment? Or we might get to, bearing in mind that, like I said at the start of the program, I'll be taking a month off. Yeah, and I'll go straight to you, Mike. I'll be taking a month off, so there won't be any recorded versions of Ask Us Anything. Like I said, because New Zealand's, I'm pretty sure it's 5 hours because they'd have daylight saving as well. So I'm pretty sure it's 5 hours ahead. So 9 o'clock would be 2 in the morning, and I don't think my lovely wife is going to tolerate that.
Or
Just
even the one
quietly.
you're playing with.
Yes, that's right. Indeed. Indeed. All right. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Mike. Yes, you're going to say something.
I nearly forgot. For the rocket fans amongst you, Flight 11's coming up Tuesday morning, our time.
Yes, that's right.
This is the last of version 2 of things. So again, if you're interested, go to SpaceX's website to look at the profile. Splashes down northwest of Exmouth, all going well.
Which
No
is not
cat-
far from Carnarvon. Sorry, just to interrupt, and
Oh, yeah,
then
yeah.
keep going. Just left
Still got-
Carnarvon.
Yes.
Bashing out the Ks.
Not as quick as
What time on Tuesday, Mike?
it'll be
In the morning.
like 7 o'clock in the morning, 6:30. You know, if you're up at 6:30, if you're an early riser, then get on to the SpaceX website. They'll show you. Or one of the other, if you're up earlier, on YouTube, you'll probably find Connections on X, the group called NSF or NASA Spaceflight. They're the nerds, and they have lots of extraneous commentary and ins and outs and different cameras. And I mean, obviously SpaceX have the best cameras and they have the stuff in space. But yeah, this, for those who haven't seen it, the ship thermal protection system is looking particularly nice. They haven't got as many test things on this one.
and all the tiles are stuffed.
Sorry, and all the tiles what?
Stuffed.
Stuff. No, they're all good at this stage. It's
No, they've stuffed things in the gaps, didn't you know?
Oh yeah, sorry, yes, gotcha. Yeah, what do they call it? Something
Cladding.
like a crinkle or a crisp wrapper or something.
They're cladding, I think. So anyway, yeah.
So they get the tile, because the problem has been a bit of the gaps and a bit loose. So the tiles clip into place, and they put this gap filler by means of, if you can imagine, wrapping the back of it in something, and then they stuff it into the hole, and it makes I don't know if any of you've played with ceramic wool. As you rub it together, it makes like a crinkly sound. So I think that's what's going on. Anyway, digress.
Yep.
Here we go. Where's this, Rob?
Oh, this is just approaching Manila.
Yes.
Keep going, Mike.
Yeah, so
So
anyway,
stuffing the crinkle.
yeah, so I'm hoping personally that the ship does well. They've got an extra set of different maneuvers as it comes in to do its landing burn in the ocean, because they're getting ready for the next version of the ship, which eventually next year they'll be catching. And again, if you haven't been following it, NASA Spaceflight, you should see Pad 2 compared with. So they've built a Launch Pad 2 again, for those that are not familiar. And that will be launching version 3 of the ship, which is the serious stuff. And they've really got to get a wriggle on SpaceX because they're a bit behind with their problems they had earlier in the year. But this pad 2, it's really starting to look like a bit of a ziggurat now. So yeah.
Very, very good. So, and just Pete, you were saying about what time, because they're doing the splashdown in the Indian Ocean off Exmouth, they'll always time it for dawn or early morning Perth time, which is very convenient for us.
Yes.
So they seem to always be launching in the evening or late afternoon in Texas. So Mike, do you know how many more? So is this the last Indian Ocean splashdown? Do you think, or there'll be another couple?
Not necessarily, but it's the last of the version 2 ship and the version, which let's call it 2 booster. So there'll be a bit of a gap sometime, people are saying, between end of January to March next year for the next flight, because they have to commission the new pad, because only the new pad can support the new booster and ship. And that the ships and the boosters could be ready sooner, but this new, as I say, if you haven't seen what's going on there, if you like construction, it's enormous. And for those that don't know, they're building pads at
Florida.
39A.
In Florida at the traditional location.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Which is going to be very awesome to just see. Yeah, I mean, Falcon 9 launches are every few days, every couple of days, basically.
Yep.
Eventually, Starship launches will be the same. Before they.
It's going to be interesting because they are loud things. You know, there's a lot of power going on there, and they're really loud.
Yes. Yes.
So some locals will not be happy.
No, absolutely. Coming up right in any second will be Nanyatara, Darren, which you'll be going to in a couple of days. Right there, Nanyatara. And then we quick wash and then go. Next stop, Karratha, but we'll probably won't make it for the rest of the show to Karratha, but that's okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, a Roo would make a mess of you at that speed.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. At 4 times the speed of sound, it's going to be messy. It's going to be messy.
Still reckon you're a crazy guy traveling in the dark hours or before dawn and after sunset.
Oh, yes, but I wanted, as SpaceX would say of Starship and Booster, data is the main payload. So I really did want to, I didn't want to see Roos because they're really difficult, and I've put videos on X and whatever about just showing how difficult that is.
Do you know how to do that? When you're driving, just close your eyes.
Yeah, I know. Oh man. But like I said before, I really had this crushing responsibility not to be the first person to have FSD and crash into a Roo or something. So now that I'm not the first person to do that, well, I don't know if anyone has, and I hope no one ever does, but yeah, now I'm more relaxed. But
you tried really hard though, Harold, you must admit.
I did.
You came very close.
And I haven't got all the videos up yet. I haven't had time.
Well, you can still do it in Perth, sort of, because when I went to Mandurah last week via the Lake Clifton Road, there was a dead Roo by the side of the road on the Lake Clifton Road.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And then look, there are in Perth, between Perth and Mandurah, it's getting a bit of a hot spot. And Rollystone, I think, according to Amy, that's that's Perth's biggest hotspot for Roos or insurance claims for animal collisions is Rollystone. So,
One thing I will say, Harold, looking at your video there, if you ever stop driving around Australia, you can always hire your services out as a window washer.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
I do a good job, don't I? Cracking good job.
And you're bloody quick.
Yeah, I am very quick. If I can just get back to
$2 well earned.
Karratha is not very far, but no, it's all good. All right, so any last drinks for the end of this show? For a month, actually, before we get Pete to do the awesome outro. No, I think we're all good. So Pete, how would you round out an awesome show like this as if I didn't already know.
As always, stay safe, stay sustainable, have a well-deserved holiday, Harold, and stay ahead of the curve.
Thanks, Pete. And the best way to do that is buy a Tesla, join Tokwa, and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy and abundance. Have a wonderful month, everyone. I'll try and do the same, and really do look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. Good night, everyone.
Thanks, guys.